It's Lit Book Reviews, doing something a little different. Welcome back. It's Lit Book Reviews is going to segue a little bit. It's Lit Movie Reviews, but it is still based off a book. If you can see, you already know what it is. So today, Andrew and I are going to be talking about Oppenheimer, or I guess just directed by Christopher Nolan. I guess written too, right? And we have special guest star, my brother, Jeb, or Ezra. Which one do you want to go by?
Ezra Miller?
Ezra Jeb.
Ezra Jeb. There he is. That's his name. Or is it Ezra Jeb in the Freaky movie?
It's Ezra Jeb Sexton. The whole name.
Oh yeah, the whole name.
Yeah.
So just to introduce, you guys know Daniel Day-Lewis and myself, but we're also introducing Michael B. Jordan with us today. I'm not getting too deep with all that. So yeah, Ezra Jeb Sexton, my younger brother. He reads, but he also is an actor and has been in one movie of note, Freaky, starring Vince Vaughn and Catherine Newton. He plays a great guy, the kind of guy that you want to bring home to your mom if you're a girl. Brett Bro, wasn't it?
Yep. Brett Bro.
Yeah. So just tell us a little bit to start us off
name.
before we get into Oppenheimer about your, I guess, that experience doing that movie.
It was great. It was one of the best experiences I've ever had. I mean, it was a big dream of mine just to be a part of the film industry, and then I got really lucky to have a small role in that film and got the experience that I wanted, and it was a blast. And then to be able to go into a movie theater and, you know, be a part of it in some small way, it was pretty surreal.
How many years did it take, you think, for you to get that? Because I remember we were working out at the time, and I remember you like doing tons of audition tapes and.
Yeah, I mean, it actually is. I got really lucky. I mean, it happened a lot faster for me than it does for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I mean, it probably took me a year and a half to maybe a year to get that one, which is super rare. Which really has it really does have a mixture to do with obviously your work, but it's a lot of luck too.
Yeah.
It's a lot of.
Do you think being
right
in Atlanta
place, right
held
time.
you back?
No, I think it helped a lot.
Really?
Because Atlanta's a really big movie market.
I remember you talking about maybe moving to New York, like trying to like test stuff out. But I guess you already told me that. I remember you saying, I guess, that you were getting a lot of stuff here, so it didn't matter.
They're filming a lot here. Like, it just depends, but they're just filming so much.
Especially now with Trilith. Which was Trilith here? Was that a thing when we were? You know what I'm talking about?
That's that thing over in Fayetteville, and it's got the studios around. Is it the ones that Tyler Perry?
Tyler Perry, like all
ones.
the freaking Avenger ones, and
yeah, it's where they do all that
Well,
stuff.
they do Pinewood Studios.
Pinewood,
too.
yeah, it's right over there, isn't it?
Trilith is like the community that Pinewood is near.
Yeah.
It's a community that's been built around that, basically, or because that's there.
Yeah. We didn't film at all at Pinewood. We did a lot of.
Did you film in Georgia?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
But
if
we
I
did
knew
a lot.
that.
We did all of ours was location. Like, we did legit location filming.
Yeah.
We didn't
This
do.
was pre-COVID though, too.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
The movie came out during COVID,
Yeah.
but we filmed in 2019.
And speaking of
That's
location,
crazy to think about, dude.
while shooting, I remember one of y'all's locations had to get changed because somebody came up there and shot a security
that
guard.
bowling alley?
Yeah, we were supposed to.
Was that Midtown Bowl?
The original, it probably was, because
I think I know what you're talking
the
about.
original script had us at a bowling alley and arcade, and so that literally a couple of nights before, somebody came by and it was like a drive-by shooting, and a bunch of security that was there guarding the set got hurt, went to the hospital, so we had to change part of the script to I think it was just an arcade or something like that, and had like a maze in it. All this
Oh yeah,
different
that's
stuff.
the scene where you're
Oh, he
playing
has some
pool.
good lines
Yeah,
in
some
that.
great lines in that
Playing
scene.
air hockey. Yeah, that's
That's what it was, air hockey.
that's not even the worst. Those are
no.
decent lines.
I don't know which one was the
Those
worst.
are rated G lines compared to the.
So would you
the other
say, did you have any scenes with Vince Vaughn?
No,
No. But so you never got to act like
I
where
didn't get to act with him, but I got to
you watch
see him and encounter him. I mean, I knew he knew who I was at least.
Yeah. But I didn't know if you got to watch him like do this
Oh,
thing.
I did. Oh, yeah.
Because he was very involved in
Twice.
on set, like doing scenes that he wasn't even involved in,
okay.
right?
Yeah, I mean, one time, the one of the coolest moments we had was there's a line that was halfway improvised by me and Vince, because he had just done, it was when we were at that arcade doing a hockey thing,
Yeah.
and there's a line where I say she effing loves me.
Yeah.
Well, that wasn't in the script.
When she walks away.
When she walks away.
Yeah, I know exactly what I'm about.
But originally, she just walks away, and then Vince had told the director, like, I wish they would just, like, do some stuff, like loosen up and do some stuff. And that's where that line came from.
So he told you that? Or he told
He told kind of all of us that. And
okay.
then it kind of came from there, which is cool.
And it was to add to that, because Jeb's going to be more humble about it than I will, because it's not me.
You
that
got to meet
any of
Vince
this.
Vaughn too, right?
Well, I went to the rap party, dude, and when Vince Vaughn showed up and walked over to our group, he said, "What's up, Ezra?" And I was just like...
He probably don't remember me today, but at least in that time.
In that moment of his life, he remembered Jeb, and I was like, bro, this is so cool.
Dude, that was a
he
fun
cool?
party. We met you after the rap party.
Yeah, I know. Oh, I remember. We all went out
Wasn't
because
it
you
your
and some of your
birthday?
buddies. Was it in December?
Yeah.
It might have been.
I think it was. It was
I remember
definitely
we went
cold.
to
'Cause
Churchill's,
we wrapped
dude,
in November. And
and I remember Tyler took a
brought,
piece
like,
of the
couple of-
ceiling out
Yeah.
of...
we brought a couple of the cast, too, with it. It was like
Yeah.
Magnus and Carter.
Yeah,
with us.
Magnus. I remember Magnus.
But I remember at the rap party that, like, there was like a moment, and I was just kind of standing there getting to witness this. It was you, Magnus, Carter, and maybe, I think it was just y'all three, maybe one other of the younger, like, up-and-coming actors that was in the movie. He just kind of sat there and talked to y'all for a minute, just kind of saying, and it was kind of like, felt like his, like, goodbye kind of, and his last, like, thing that he had a chance to say to y'all. And he said something really cool. He was like, whatever y'all do, just do what you like. Yeah. Don't do what, like, you think is going to be good or what you think people want. Just make what you like, especially right now when you have the freedom to just do anything. And I thought that was really cool. Like, his advice was for y'all to do what you want and what you enjoy, because I think there's kind of an inherent thing in that's most likely what's going to have success is things that you're passionate about and you like. So I thought that was really cool. He was really nice.
He's not the typical, he was actually a genuinely good person, at least with us there, and very nice, very humble, very tall.
Yeah,
very tall.
He looked tall.
He was a big
in that
man.
picture with all you guys there, he looked tall.
Yeah, he was a lot bigger
But
than all of
super
us.
cool. All of them were cool.
Did he show up on time to the rap party?
No, he was there like an hour after we got there, I'm pretty sure.
And then he left pretty early?
He was there for a while. He had a bunch of his family there.
Yeah, he had
actually.
He
Did he have kids?
near us.
It looked like a bunch of people his age, but he had said that, or somebody had said it was his
relatives.
family. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then Catherine was really cool too. She was so nice.
Yeah, Catherine's amazing.
And she's now gone on to, I mean, she's like a star now too. She was just in Quantumania. She was super nice to everybody.
Is that the new Ant-Man
They're
and
all
Wasp
cool.
movie?
Yeah.
Did they act famous? Like, cause I don't. Had you ever met anyone that
No.
was like really famous before that?
Because
Cause like I'm just imagining like, okay, you're doing all this work, like you've done like other stuff that I'm not saying it's not legit. It's not maybe at that level, but then all of a sudden you're having to walk into a scene and just act like you've been around, like, you know what I mean? Like I would go and be like, that's Vince Vaughn, and now I got to just act without really meeting him cordially. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that definitely Vince or Catherine definitely did not act that way.
They didn't.
They were super chill, but I definitely felt that way because Catherine Newton at the time had just done.
She done Big Little Lies
Big Little
recently
Lies,
with all
Come to
those
the End.
famous
What was
girls
that
in it.
Netflix one too.
See, I didn't know who she was, but then I remember looking her up. She has like millions of followers on Instagram.
Oh, she's yeah,
Like, huge.
She's,
I
Well,
just
she's got like a
know her.
polo deal, like for because
Yeah.
she golfs a lot, and
You're
Is she our
nervous,
age?
but they make it. Yeah, and she's like a year older than me. So
Okay.
she
she's younger than us.
she like legitimately never, like, the second I met her, the first scene I had was like the scene where I walk in to die. One of the hardest scenes for me.
Oh, and
was
just
my first
absolutely
scene.
Savage her
One of my
verbally.
first scenes, and she was super nice and comfortable,
Yeah.
and it was like a friend, which tells a lot to the kind of person they are.
Dude, I was really hoping you got the role that got to kiss Vince Vaughn. That would have been sick.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad I didn't, but
So where's that? So like, look, I don't know anything about that industry. So the guys who got, like, let's say that guy, I can't even remember his name. You probably do. He played, like, I guess more of a role, but like still not a
Uriah?
huge role.
yeah, what's his name? Uriah Justice.
yeah, Uriah.
Is he, so like how, I don't even know how to ask this. Like, how close were you to being able to get a role like he got? Or was he kind of on your same level and he just got lucky too? Like, was he someone who had done other stuff?
Yeah, he was in a really big show on Hulu, which I forgot the name of it, but he was already pretty established. I mean, he had like, not that
I remember the name.
social media is a good indication of fame necessarily, but he
Or
had already
just
had
talent, either,
hundreds
yeah.
of thousands of
Okay.
people following him. So, and that does have a lot to do with it because it's the
People
type
wanna see you.
of role you can kind of go for. But yeah, I've had a few, opportunities, but
Dude, you want to know something I tell, not to cut you off, that I tell so many people. It's like one of my, like, and dude, it's good night, meet your. I just remember you telling me something like this, and I've probably just added, like, more and more to it as the years have gone on. But dude, it's literally one of my favorite stories to tell about you. I'll be, like, out, you know, with some buddies drinking, and, like, we'll meet someone, and I'll be like, yeah, you know that show, Outer Banks? Yeah, my buddy almost got that. It was between him and freaking John B. No big deal. And because I remember, dude, working out with you, and I mean, you can tell after this, but like how close you actually got. But I remember like feeling like basically it was between you and like who I guess the John B guys now, which back then we didn't even know, bro. We were like just sitting there working out, and like, dude, I almost got a part, or I'm keep getting callbacks for this run roll. It could be big because it was obviously way before, you know, because they film it a year or two before. So I mean, this is way before Outer Banks ever came out, and it's just funny like now to think like
it was between huge. Like you and like 2 or 3 other guys. Though,
it was
right?
a few others, but the closest one I've ever had was probably I was close on what was it called, Dope Sick. That's the closest one I ever got, and it would have been
like a lead role.
It would have been a pretty,
or at least
like a pretty good supporting cast. I mean, I have the script and everything, but it was all my scenes would have been with
Michael Keaton or Rosario Dawson.
It would have been Michael Keaton
sick.
in like the rehab. There's a
I don't think what is that? Is that a show?
It's a show about like the
really
opiate epidemic on Hulu.
It's one of the best scripts I've ever read, and I was very, very. I mean, I was on. It's called On Hold.
Is this pre-COVID or post-COVID?
No, it's
It was after COVID started.
It is like pretty close.
Because the show just came out.
I remember you like were getting
year.
traction, and I feel like COVID was an L.
It was an L, and then, you know, it.
Not that you're not happy with like how life's turning out right now, but I'm just saying like.
It was a big L, but it also was good because it kind of put me on. Like now, I'd like to kind of go a different route in that industry, so I'll start writing and doing that, doing smaller stuff, and hopefully that'll.
So would you act again? Like, have you sent any? Like, do you still? Have someone that's like sending you stuff like, hey, you should audition.
I had a casting director reach out for something that I won't talk about on here, but because I can't. But very small and far and few between. But I mean, or few and far between. Yeah.
But it'd be something that we would know. It's just a minor role in something we would know.
Definitely something. Yeah. Okay. Know. It's one of those NDA. I don't know what that is.
He's the cup.
We'll put a visual on the screen.
Yeah, for sure. I don't even know if you can say that on YouTube without getting demonetized.
You think? Thing, wasn't it?
Yeah. I don't know if I ever actually saw the real video. I think I've only seen pictures of it.
I was too scared to see it.
You should definitely, after this, go ahead and look that up.
I'm good, man. I'll pass.
So that's pretty much Jeb's experience with the biggest thing he did. You did a couple other smaller projects or whatever, but the reason we bring that up is because we are talking about a movie that's based off a book today. Not that you need to have acting experience to have an opinion on a movie, but it does give you a little bit of, not that you've done a ton of stuff, a little bit, a tiny bit, sure, but
he's been there. I don't know. I've just watched movies, bro. I'm like, that's trash, and I don't know the effort that goes into it at all.
I've been on one show, and I was an extra. I was like a high schooler in a locker on Devious Maids.
What's that?
Some like... I don't know. It wasn't a soap opera, but it was like one of those. I mean, it was a show about a bunch of maids. It was like a drama show. Yeah. And I don't think it was very popular.
Did you get paid for that?
Yeah, I got paid like
$100.
$85 or something. I was there for like 6 hours. I was just leaned up against a locker all day while this freaking school shooter looking kid had his scene like coming out of his classroom. I was just in the background. But anyway, so yeah, we're talking about a movie. Obviously, we're talking about Oppenheimer, Christopher Nolan's most recent movie starring Cillian Murphy, Robert Downey Jr., Matt Damon, Emily Blunt, several others. We all three have seen it. I saw it in IMAX like a week ago, a week ago, 8 days ago.
Sunday or Saturday.
Yeah, so you just saw it, what is that, 2 days ago?
Yeah.
And you saw it on Saturday?
Yeah, 70 millimeter.
Okay, so you saw 70 millimeter. I saw IMAX. What did you see?
What does that even mean? I saw it IMAX.
All right, well, the 70 millimeter is just like, what is it, like the longest or whatever?
That's just normal?
It's like how wide it is.
So you're supposed to see it? Is that what you're supposed to see it in?
That was like the best form to see it in, apparently.
Had to see it in.
But like how would you even know? To like, does the movie theater advertise it as that?
Yeah, they like had certain theaters that did it, but there's not a theater where they're all 70 millimeter. There's like one, I think.
South
Lake. They did have one?
Yeah, that's where I saw it.
Oh.
There you go. I really don't know what it means, but it doesn't matter. We saw it in IMAX.
Because I feel like IMAX is not stretched out. I feel like it's more tall.
I have
Dude,
no
I'm
idea.
ignorant, bro. I remember it.
I believe IMAX it has a lot to do with a lot of things. But I know IMAX in terms of how big the film is bigger than 70 millimeter. But 70 millimeter, the way it's shot, is it's not. It's like better color and.
It had a film look, which I'm sure we'll talk about.
Film look, and it's I'm not going to pretend to know what it is, but I know that Chris Nolan was like, you should see it in this, and so I just went, okay,
yeah,
I'll go do that.
I mean, that makes
Chris.
sense. So do we want to do like a non-spoiler thing of just talking about how much we liked it without talking about details in the movie, or do we just want to dive into it?
We can, yeah. I mean, it is real life. So
let's do a quick couple minutes.
80 years ago. So
yeah,
you haven't figured out what.
That's very true.
We
Maybe
did drop nuclear bombs. I don't know if the viewer knows that or not. But.
Yeah, you're right. All right, so let's not even worry about that. Let's just get into it. So let's start out with a 10 out of 10. I mean, for me, honestly, it's one of his best. I don't know. I'm bad with recency bias, so I don't know if it is his best to me for sure, but it's up there. The acting in it is the best in any Nolan movie, in my opinion. I don't know if the movie is his best yet, but I mean, I think it's a 9.5 out of 10. It might be a 10. What do you think, Jeb?
Yeah,
Ezra.
It's so hard to judge Nolan movies because I don't. Bless you.
Sorry,
there really isn't a movie that he's done that I haven't really enjoyed, but I would definitely say at least a 9.5 out of 10.
I liked it a lot. I texted Jesse right after. I was like, dude, that might be my favorite movie I've seen. And same with the recency bias. I don't know, like, if I like it more than Dark Knight, bro.
Yeah, it's
those
so
just
tough.
hit so hard. But, dude, I mean, yeah, as far as...
But even Interstellar.
Yeah, Interstellar's the one that really...
I saw that one multiple times in theater.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, yeah...
But that's the point. Is Nolan is so
It's different. It's so different though. Interstellar is.
And then you go back to the Prestige and Memento.
Yeah.
It becomes really
Prestige
difficult
was
really
so
quick.
good. I mean, Memento. It's not Memento. It's better than Memento. That's a good movie. That's more just like, oh wow, you watch Memento once, whereas the other ones I feel like you could watch like all the time and it still hits. Dunkirk, bro, was all right to me.
I like Dunkirk, but it's not up there. It's not up there.
I really enjoyed Dunkirk.
I did too, but I mean, it's
just
not
as good as this one.
No, I enjoyed this one more, but
yeah.
I still, it's just hard to, if you stay in the genre of only judge Nolan movies, sure, but like,
oh yeah, as far as all
look
movies,
at just all of movies,
it's definitely way up there.
Oppenheimer's incredible.
They're all 9s or 10s. Yeah.
Well, dude,
amazing.
Cillian Murphy, which I've
Killian.
always said,
it's Killian.
Dude, I like Cillian though. I think
but
that
that's
was
not his name.
I remember texting Jesse and I was like, dude, Cillian would be such. I'm naming.
I think Killian's cool.
Yeah, Killian's better.
I guess Killian is cool too. I just throughout
it's cool
the whole
and it's right.
Peaky Blinders.
It's cool and it's right.
Throughout my whole Peaky Blinders experience, I thought it was Cillian, bro.
So before we get too far into the movie, we've given our ratings. We really liked it. We have the book here. None of us have read this book yet. I just recently bought it because I want to read it. But it is American Prometheus, The Triumph and Tragedy of J. Robert Oppenheimer, written by Kai Bird and Martin J. Sherwin. It is the winner of the Pulitzer Prize, and
4.16 on Goodreads, 20,000 ratings. I'm sure that's going to be shooting up here soon. It was published in 2005. Just because, like, Jesse bought this, paid, what did you say, $12?
16, I think.
So I tried to buy it this past weekend, and it was like 30. So
this is the book that Nolan read that he based his movie on, or based his script on. It obviously, even though it's a very extensive and long movie, it's not as extensive as that book. There's a thick one right there. But he did encourage all the actors to read it as well, and I know that some of them did. I know Cillian Murphy did. I know Emily Blunt did. I don't know if the others did. But,
I bet you RDJ did.
Yeah, I'm sure he did. I'm sure they all did. I mean, I feel like that's kind of like a prerequisite. But so we have set our ratings. We all obviously really loved it.
It's got good ratings on Rotten Tomatoes too.
Yeah, I mean, it's doing really well. It did well at the box office. I did see that both it and Barbie did have record drop-offs for the second weekend, which was just this past weekend for us, just a day ago. The weekend ended. It's Monday here, but that may change, but we'll see. I think it already kind of did what it needed to.
It's already a successful
they movie. Did break records. Like, for the movies combined, it was the 4th biggest box office weekend, I think, in history.
Yeah, made more money than their budget, which means
didn't Barbie like double it though?
Yeah, Barbie doubled Oppenheimer so far.
That wasn't really shocking though.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I mean,
why?
I mean, think about who is more likely between the ages of 16 and up.
I guess, but
well, it's also like that's more of like
that people don't see.
That's more of like a flick. I feel like a fun movie that like people are more likely to see. Whereas Oppenheimer, like, even though it's a Nolan, I don't think everybody like sees a movie that's by a director and goes, oh, I got to see that. It's more about the content. I don't think everybody really cares. I mean, obviously, it still did very well, but in comparison to Barbie, I don't think as many people want to go see a real story.
I'm going to be honest with you, though. I don't know nearly as much about movies and shows as you guys do, but Christopher Nolan's like one of the few directors I even know his name.
Yeah, well,
so
I feel
when
like
I hear Christopher Nolan, I'm like, all right, I'll go see that, even if I don't even need to know anything about the movie.
Yeah.
And I'll go see it just solely because, maybe it's because of you guys, too, though, talking about.
Yeah,
Like,
we
I wonder
both
how many
do
people
really,
have
really
seen
like
Dark Knight
movies.
and know that it's not Christopher Nolan.
I feel like that has a lot to do with that's changed.
You mean know that it is Christopher Nolan?
Well, I'm just saying, like, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was
Well,
like,
that's
wait,
changed
wait, am I
over
tripping?
years. Yeah, like I feel like for a long time it was who's directing this, who wrote it, and now our
Who's in it?
generation is like, is it a superhero movie? What's the actor and what's the plot?
Well, yeah, because you think Barbie does as well if it doesn't have Ryan Gosling and Margot Robbie? Like, let's say it's just two.
Probably not. I mean, they're movie stars.
That's what I'm saying. Especially, I love Ryan Gosling, dude. He's
But
great.
also that director. I mean, Greta Gerwig is like in the movie. Like, if you're really into movies and like
She's an
know that kind of
incredible,
stuff,
director.
she's a really good director. So I mean, it's. I don't think she's on Nolan's
did,
level. I think she's not
Little Women?
as far in her career. Yeah, she did Little Women. She did shoot, what's the other one? I can't remember. I'm not going to go into
Lady
it,
Bird?
but
No, no.
she did do Lady
Lady
Bird.
Bird?
Yeah.
Is that where Sandra Bullock's blind and going through stuff?
No, it's not. That's Bird Box.
He knew that. He knew that
I'm
before
trying
he
to
said it.
sabotage this podcast.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even want to do it anymore. All right, I'm just gonna dive right in then.
Dive in, brother.
So, if you've seen it, great. If not, and you want it to kind of be ruined if you don't know what happened, even if you know what happened, the movie itself is what it sounds like. It's about Oppenheimer. It's not just about the Manhattan Project. It really is about him and his experience and his psyche and kind of the weight of
And the politics
whole
that go into
experience.
it as well.
Yeah,
I'd say
definitely the
it's very
political stuff, but it's all centered from how the whole ordeal affected Oppenheimer. A little bit with Louis Strauss's character as well, but again, it's all related to Oppenheimer's. I mean, Cillian Murphy is in almost every scene in the movie. There's
He
very
really
few
is,
that he's
yeah.
not in, and I've watched like interviews with the actors and with Christopher Nolan, and like from the beginning, it was all an understanding. Like even to the other actors, RDJ, Emily Blunt, Matt Damon, the rest, they all had an understanding from Nolan saying, "Hey, Cillian is putting this movie on his back, and you're just there to like support him in whatever way." I'm saying it in less words, paraphrasing, but he definitely did that. I feel like, and my first thing that I kind of have in here is the acting, to not even deeply get into the story. I mean, Cillian Murphy, dude. I mean, I feel like that was, again, recency bias, but I feel like that was Oscar worthy.
Absolutely.
Oh, for sure. I like him a lot, though, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, Peaky
I'm
Blinders.
going to be honest with you, I don't
everything.
know much other than Peaky Blinders, though. Like, if I'm the perspective of
Christopher
someone who
Nolan.
hasn't watched a
He's
lot
in
Yeah.
almost
of
every
stuff.
Christopher Nolan movie.
He is?
Yeah.
He's in Dark Knight? Or in the
He's
Batman
Scarecrow.
stuff?
He's
Yeah.
Scarecrow.
He is.
Yeah, he's Scarecrow, and then he's the guy they're
Inception.
trying to incept in Inception.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
And then
Yeah.
in Dunkirk, he's the soldier that's on the boat where he's trying to leave. He's like, "Don't go back.
Yeah,
We can't go back."
Oh.
and he
Dude,
ends
I
up
guess
like
just-
killing a kid or something.
I like
on
recently
accident.
saw
Yes.
Peaky Blinders, so like I guess that's why he's now like I'm now aware of him, and now I'm like, oh dude, he's sick.
Yeah, he's so good.
But I don't know. I guess has he been like more minor roles though? Obviously.
This is his first lead role in a movie. Peaky Blinders was his first lead role in a show.
Oh, he's probably gonna blow
But
up
I mean,
after
Peaky,
this, right?
Peaky Blinders, wasn't that already massive before?
It is now. I mean,
Yeah.
it's had 6 seasons though, so yeah,
That's super
Yeah.
successful. I mean, that's
True.
amazing.
yeah,
That
it's
shit's
done really well. That definitely put him even more on the map.
Oh,
but
man.
again, he
But
But
wasn't.
his
a
eyes
star.
Yeah.
are blue, bro.
They're so blue.
They're blue.
He's got beautiful eyes. I'll give
He
that to
does,
the
dude.
man. So yeah, I thought obviously he's the main guy. His acting was amazing.
If you had to rank who did the best,
I mean, him and dude, it's honestly really hard because
I think
I
he
felt
did
like
the
Matt
best.
Damon. I'll say this: like his
did a
character
good
was
job,
probably
though.
he did a great job, but I
He
felt
didn't
like
have a lot of scenes.
well, it wasn't as much like intense acting seeming, but Cillian Murphy, RDJ, and Emily Blunt, especially Emily Blunt's last
Who
scene.
is Emily Blunt? The girl that
Kitty
kills
Oppenheimer.
herself?
No, that's Florence Pugh.
Oh, okay. I was about to say
Kitty
that.
Oppenheimer, the wife,
Okay,
who in the last scene like is with
What she says to
Yeah.
the guy interrogating.
in like the little private hearing
Yeah.
thing. So yeah, I thought Matt Damon was amazing, but it felt like a pretty like easy role for Matt Damon.
Yeah.
RDJ, I felt like it was probably one of his best roles he's ever done. But I
Really?
still think Cillian did better
was
than
on
him.
You thought it was one of his best roles he's ever done?
Yeah, dude, I thought
absolutely.
he
I
killed
did
it,
well
man.
by it.
I was
He's
waiting
been-
the whole
he's been in
time
a
for him to
lot.
be like, in his friggin' Iron Man suit come out, but he did do great.
I thought that for sure one of his best.
What about Josh?
I thought that
Peck?
was how the atomic bomb was
I
going to go
would be
off.
shocked if he wasn't at least nominated for an Oscar.
Like a supporting Oscar role. That's probably what it would be.
I'd be shocked if he wasn't.
That's the thing, though. You bring up Josh Peck, and it was kind of
Dude,
it was
he
a little
threw me
bit
off. I'm
hilarious.
sorry,
It
bro.
did.
I
It
saw him
like
out-
takes you out
yeah.
a little bit. But I will say, even people like him, and then Jack Quaid from the Boys is in the show.
I don't know. I haven't
Huey
seen
from the
so-
Boys.
Yeah, Huey. I kept seeing Bad Boys the whole time.
The Boys.
The Boys. Sorry.
Bad Boys.
Bad Boys.
Everybody in it did so good. Florence Pugh was in it. I thought she did good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing with Christopher Nolan movies. You're never, especially
Einstein
this
was
one,
good, bro.
Every
Whoever played
character.
Einstein.
Einstein, dude. Casey Affleck.
Yeah,
Is that who that
man.
is?
No. That's the Casey Affleck played the military guy that like you don't see his face for a minute and then it shows him. He's also Inception. He plays the son when
The
he gets
interrogator
older.
guy?
Yeah, he's like a military guy that
No,
Matt Damon's.
Who's that?
Not the main interrogator guy. You don't know. He's from.
He is in something, bro. But I
What's
feel
his
like he
name?
looks like someone who's in a lot of stuff.
Interrogator. Oh, Jason Clarke.
Yeah, man.
He's in
He did a
Everest.
really good
yeah,
job.
he was
Incredible.
great.
That guy did really good. He
He's
looks
He's
like
in
someone
Lawless
though,
too. He's in
You
Lawless.
definitely have seen him.
He looks like someone though who is not him. Who's like in rom-coms. I feel like he looks like.
I don't know. He's been in some pretty hardcore movies. He's in Everest,
When I
which is
edit this,
great.
I'll put up who he looks like because I can't think of it right now.
And then he's
but-
in Lawless with Tom Hardy and Shia LaBeouf.
He's also in First Man. With
What
Ryan
is that?
Gosling.
Is that a show?
Bro, you haven't seen Lawless,
Dude,
dude.
'cause you
We're
just
gonna get
mentioned
so
two guys that I
sidetracked.
love.
You need to watch Lawless because that's a
I
great
love
movie.
Shia
But
Again, just connect it back. Lawless. Who's in Lawless? Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy's also in Christopher Nolan movies.
Dude, Tom
Christopher
Hardy and
Nolan did
Shia LaBeouf, dude,
Oppenheimer.
I
Back to
love
it.
both of those.
yeah, that was very good. But anyway, Casey Affleck was so intimidating as that guy. So
Which
he's
is
the
he?
one
I'm
that
confused.
when Oppenheimer's he comes and tells a guy in an office, like he's essentially trying to tell, so without telling on the guy specifically, he's trying to tell someone that there are people that are trying to get into the Manhattan Project and get information for Russia. So he tells a guy, then comes back the next day, and there's another guy sitting in there.
Oh, yeah.
And he's supposed to be real intimidating, and Matt Damon's like talking to him about it on the train, and it's flashing back.
Yeah.
That's Casey Affleck. You've seen him
Okay.
before. I mean, he's in Good Will Hunting with.
Yeah.
He's Ben Affleck's brother. He did great, dude. Gary Oldman is Harry Truman.
Dude, they made you know way more about Truman than I do, bro. Was Truman that much of a douche?
Okay, so I'm glad you said that. I've read only.
Because did I read that wrong, or he was a dick?
He did say that.
He did say that. He did say that.
He did say.
Oh,
But
so
here's the
that's
thing.
like-
Crybaby.
Here's the
did
thing.
say that.
I will say this, and this is not necessarily a defense of Truman. Truman probably was a dick in that way.
Yeah.
But from Truman's perspective, he's looking at this scientist. And I think from Truman's, if you were to try to get in Truman's head, you're looking at a scientist and going, is the dude that made this for me seriously sitting here saying this to me right now?
Yeah.
Like, I'm the
probably
one
so
that had to do it.
disassociated
He's so,
too,
yeah, and
though.
he's so callous to it at this point. He's
When
like, I
the
already
war's
did
going
it.
on,
Like,
bro.
He's dropped
it ended the
two
war,
bombs.
so it worked, and now you're sitting here crying about it. Like, what did you expect?
Well, and his response is real. It's like, bro, you weren't the one who dropped the bomb.
Yeah, he
Like,
said,
I am.
I'm the one that dropped
Big
the bomb.
Daddy,
And he's
brother.
right. Like,
Yeah. If anyone should be crying about
I do
it,
think he
it's me.
was a dick. I think it was partially product of his time to respond to that way. Like, I think nowadays people look at that and think it's so insensitive, and it's like you're talking to the guy who decided to drop 2 atomic bombs on
Wait,
Japan. Like,
Gary Oldman, that was freaking
that was Harry Truman, bro.
detective.
That was Gordon, bro.
That was Gordon?
That was Winston Churchill from Darkest Hour.
Dude, I didn't see that.
That
I
was
didn't,
Sirius
I didn't
Black
notice.
from Harry Potter. You know
That's
he's-
also Gordon? Dude, I can only. Really?
Yeah,
Yes,
Gary Oldman's
dude.
amazing.
Wow, that is him.
Yeah, dude, he's the freaking man. I told you he's my
I
favorite
mean,
actor.
I agreed. I was like, yeah, I like him, but I only see him as freaking Gordon.
He didn't look that much like Truman. I mean, they made Gary Oldman look as much like Truman as he could.
Dude,
but
I didn't even notice it. I mean, obviously,
he pulled it off pretty well.
he definitely pulled it off, and I'm saying he didn't look like Truman
Yeah.
that
No,
much.
he
He
did
just
not
looked like
look-
Gary
he
Oldman
did
as
look like
Truman.
Winston
I didn't think it
Churchill.
was Truman.
He looked like Winston Churchill in Darkest Hour. But
Casey Affleck, by the way, played real guy played his name was Boris.
yeah, Boris
Boris
Rash. Pash, yeah. I said
Yeah.
Rash.
He was a yeah.
Yeah, I have it
Yeah.
all right here.
I
But
thought
But
the one-
he did it incredible. I mean, the acting is insane.
yeah.
It's
Then the
insane.
guy that played Edward Teller, the guy that Kitty Oppenheimer won't shake his hand once it shows that part
Yeah,
where they're
he
really
played well.
old.
I could-
Dude, he was great.
What's he in?
You
Dude?
got
He looks
Goblin
like
in it too. He was good.
Goblin.
Green Goblin?
Yeah, from Amazing Spider-Man. What's his name?
Oh, yeah, the dude from Chronicle. Remember
Yeah,
Chronicle?
Chronicle, great movie. Watch it.
I need these
Yeah,
people
Chronicle's
are-
good, man. You're not going to know this actor.
getting
He
lost.
was really good. All right, so let's get off the acting. Is there anything else y'all want to add to the acting? Who would you say your favorite was?
I mean,
Killian.
yeah. Oh, yeah, that guy did really good. That's who I was going to bring up.
Yeah, Dane DeHaan.
You brought him up?
No. I was just saying, yeah.
He was incredible.
Yeah, he did good too. I don't know if anyone didn't do well.
No,
I will
no
say,
one.
dude, the only thing I could say, dude, Josh Peck took me out every time I saw him.
Yeah.
And he didn't even have speaking parts.
But
He's just in the
he
background,
did
and I'm
good.
like,
He
still
did do good.
he did do good,
It's
but
But he's
just
never
hard.
going to
He's
live
cursed,
down
bro.
being Josh.
He's cursed,
being,
dude. He honestly should
Drake
give
and
up
Josh.
acting. And I mean that in the most respectful way possible. I just can't see
I think
anything
he's
else.
typecast is the word.
Yeah.
Like you can only ever see him as Josh from Drake and Josh.
Yeah, I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's the acting. The acting's great in the movie. We loved it. To get back to the movie itself, like, what was your favorite scene?
Bro, my
What
favorite
sticks
scene-
with you? What pops up first
My
when I
favorite
ask you
scene,
that?
dude, is when he's which they like kind of tied in, which I'm probably like ruining a bunch of people's moments here, but the tying in of like people like stomping like on the stands,
Yeah.
because you don't realize kind of what that is at 1st
Mm-hmm.
and then but the scene when he like actually walks out and he's giving the speech, but then the noise goes quiet, and then it's just like sounds of like what it would have been like after, dude. I'm
he
getting
he
chills.
sees
I'm
like a
getting
dead
chills,
body on the
honestly, like
ground.
thinking about it right now,
Yeah.
just because it really plays to the fact of like, I mean,
How powerful it was. Yeah.
well, so many people died. Like, I mean, yeah, like it helped the U.S. win the war, which, I mean, we're grateful for because we saved tons of lives. But it was at the expense of a lot of people who, they didn't have a say, and they just kind of picked a city.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, it's just. But the way he does that, man, where it's
incredible.
still you still hear his audio. I thought that was what was cool. Is like
Yeah.
you still hear Killian's audio, but like it just cuts out, and it's like that little
Yeah,
like
but you
light
see
buzz.
the people still reacting, but
Yeah.
you don't hear any
And
of
I think
it.
did they even like go monotone behind him maybe or something? They may have like changed the color scheme. I could be throwing that off, but dude, anyway, that whole
That was a
scene, they
super
kind of like do
powerful
some
scene.
buzzing stuff
Yeah, it's
behind
like,
him, I think,
yeah.
but they keep his frame. Just the way they edited that was so cool.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I agree that one. I think on the same lines of that, just really realizing, oh my gosh, this kind of power is. This might be typical, but when the bomb went off and it was just silence, and you just
Yeah.
hear him breathing, and then it's his quote, "For I become death," dude. That was that
And
sent
become
chills.
death, the destroyer of worlds.
That's
Yeah.
sent chill because that's all you hear is him breathing and then him say that, and you're just seeing
Yeah.
this bomb. I mean,
Yeah.
you're realizing like we literally.
You're realizing he is becoming death.
Yeah.
He did become that.
He
He
literally-
just changed the world forever, and
Forever.
maybe not in a good way.
Right. And that leads to my favorite scene. It's that end scene, dude, where you finally get the conversation between him and Einstein, and he's just sitting there like just what did I do? And it kind of also ties into the fact that, and they don't know that conversation happened that way. I don't believe. I could be wrong on that, but it kind of ties back to the fact that Lewis Strauss, like one of the things that drove him to dislike Oppenheimer was not even like about him, even though he thought it was.
So was that why Einstein didn't talk to him, because he felt like he was using scientists to like do something that is negative to society? Is
I
that
think the idea is that Einstein was just so shook by what Oppenheimer had just said. He would have looked like that to anybody that walked by him,
Yeah.
because he was just like,
The-
dang.
the-
But
point-
his whole thing though was
point-
that like he turned all of scientists against me, and he's taking that
Well,
off just the one moment
yeah.
Einstein walked by him, and
Yeah, that's the point. Is that the guy was like, maybe the whole thing wasn't about you.
He says
you're
maybe they were
almost-
talking about something more
You're
important.
almost seeing Strauss.
oh yeah, his last
go-
word. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, you're almost seeing Strauss look at it as, and then Einstein didn't even look at me because he said something about me, when really they
I
did
see what
not
you're
give
saying.
a flip about him. They were talking about the fact
Yeah.
that this power was gonna.
Yeah.
Actually, that scene was also about, later on in life they're gonna give you an award and do all this, but really,
Yeah,
they're
that
patting
scene was
themselves on the back.
really great. That's what he says.
That's the conversation they had.
He says that before, though. He says that
Yeah.
before Killian Murray, because he walks off, and then Oppenheimer says, hey, like, you remember when I handed you that piece of paper and said we might have been starting the end of the world? He says, I think we did. And it's twofold in him saying that. For one, there was, like, I believe, a theory that it could be a delayed reaction that destroyed the atmosphere from the bombs. But I think even more so, he was just saying we created this and now open mankind to this type of warfare and being able to have this technology. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that was my favorite scene. I mean, obviously that's the culmination point of the movie, so that's an easy one. But I will say a second was probably when you start seeing him get old. That made me cry a little bit, like
Yeah.
tear up, because I don't know, it's just one of those things. The movie does a really good job of making you feel really, really empathetic for a character who was pretty naive. Like, that's something you get from this book, to my understanding, and something that Cillian Murphy and Christopher Nolan talked about in interviews was like, you know, he was naive about some of this stuff. Like, he really was a scientist first and, like, was strictly looking at it that way, and then was, like, kind of shocked that it ended up being exactly what he made it to be when it happened.
And I feel like part of it, though, is he didn't. I feel like a lot of them didn't think they could make it happen. Because there were so many jumps. No, I'm saying I think a part of it, though, is like, all right, yeah, we'll try and do this. But, I mean, again, I haven't read the book, but, I mean, they took some jumps as far as, like, progress jumps of, like, what they learned in that time period in such a short, like, span.
It's really,
they learned so much about just quantum physics. I mean, obviously, I don't know anything about that, but just my understanding of, like, where they were, you know,
chain reaction
1940 to where they are 1945 is just exponentially further along in just 5 years.
I will say, as far as, this is kind of a topic change, but before I forget, I will say, as far as the historical accuracy, the only thing I've seen that's really in contention is like a descendant, like some family member of Oppenheimer came out saying that there's no evidence that his grandson said there's no evidence to support that he tried to poison that professor. He's saying that. He's saying that's not true, which is like, okay, of all the things, of course that's the thing people would
I don't know.
want to say is not true, but
who knows?
It's in there. That part was crazy to me. I was like, dude, he just tried to murder this guy with freaking cyanide? Like, good Lord almighty.
And they just had cyanide in the old
different
pantry
time,
over there.
man. They're not putting cyanide in an unlocked case in a freaking college classroom these days.
One thing I will say, man, that I thought was so unnecessary was, why does What's-Her-Face have to ride him, bro, naked during the interrogation thing?
Dude, that scene was ridiculous. And it almost made me not like her character being, like, a big part in the movie, because it felt like, I mean, I thought she did a great job acting, and I like how they, when she died, it made you kind of wonder if she killed herself or if it was, like, somebody offing her.
Wait, I didn't even catch that. So they don't know?
Well,
I mean, it's, obviously any conspiracy person is going to say it's probably the FBI did it, but, dude, it's really quick. If you blink, you'll miss it. But when it's showing her head getting dumped in the water, there's a quick cut that shows a hand on the back of her head, but then the next cut shows it not being there, and the whole idea is to be like, what happened? Who knows? Like, did
why
she
would
kill
she
herself?
get killed though? What did she know?
Well, she was a part of.
It was after he talked to them and like warned them about her.
Because she's actually.
She could be the leak, because the whole time is like, is he sympathetic to the Communist
Party?
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons they interrogate. Like, that was one of the things they used to. I don't know if it would be revoke his security.
Yeah. I mean, it was his involvement with her was. That's why they asked her about it.
But
that scene was just
really
ridiculous.
just because he mentioned that there was a guy who, which
they
were probably onto it, that the person that he was trying to leave out of it was really him.
Yeah.
You know, and he's like, it's just, I was told through someone, which, I mean, I guess it is him, but it's that one dude.
It's that friend.
Yeah.
And I
kept
could be
his
wrong,
kids
but I
or
feel
whatever.
like it really is, at least from my perspective, which could seriously be wrong. He was a scientist first. He wasn't a, who's a German, who's a this. He was like, we're trying to accomplish this crazy thing.
That's true.
They glaze over the fact that
part.
He's a Jew, bro.
But see, they do mention it.
He's not dumb.
He does mention it.
No, but I'm talking about these interrogators. I mean, they don't.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, I
Of
guess,
course they're not
but it's
gonna
more
mention
just
that.
because they're thinking he's in ties with Russia. I don't think they're thinking he's in ties with
it was
the
with
Nazi
Russia,
Party.
Yeah.
It was Russia, yeah.
And
I'm just
communism
saying,
in general.
I don't know if he
Yeah.
was really thinking that way necessarily when it came down to building it. I think he was a scientist first. And again, he's a brilliant dude. He knows. He, I guess, would have known.
It's more just the challenge. Can we do it? And then it's not like, oh, hopefully we don't use it. I guess he probably was thinking too, maybe. I don't know. I guess this is the naivety or part of it, is that we make this, but we don't have to use it. And it's like, hey, we've made this, but, you
But
can't.
doesn't he also say, which I don't know if he really said it, but he says something along the lines of, they won't know about it unless we use it, or there's a line he says. It's like,
Matt Damon hits him with the, we're not only going to do one, or I think it's Matt Damon, or maybe it's the Secretary of Defense, or somebody.
The Secretary of War Stimson.
Yeah, where he's like, we're going to not only do one, we're going to do two, just to let him know we can do this again.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like,
and that's historically accurate.
Yeah.
They were wanting to drop two, so that they
I love
could
how
make
he casually
them think.
says, we're not going to do Kyoto, though, because I
like the
he
vacation.
says they won't. This is in the context of, I guess they knew they were going to use it on the Japanese, or even if it was the Germans, but they won't fear it until they understand it, and they won't understand it until they've used it.
Yeah.
That's a hardcore line.
That's hard, dog. So I guess what I didn't understand, and I should have known this, is that they didn't drop a hydrogen bomb.
No, they
dropped
dropped
an atom bomb.
An atom bomb.
Yeah.
What, a nuclear bomb, right?
I think there's
I don't
a
even
really
know.
close
There's
connection
varying
between
levels of
atom
that.
and nuclear, but it was an
'cause
atom
the
bomb,
other
and
dude
that's
who
what it
ends
was
up
called
leaving,
at the time.
and then this is what Lexi mentioned to me, which I didn't even like make the connection until afterwards, is that there was a spy, and it was the British guy, and the only reason that British guy was involved was because homie got mad and was like gonna leave, and he's like, no, you can stay and just work on what you want to work on, which was the hydrogen bomb, which is the guy that she won't even shake his hand because he savages her. And so in the end, that dude, if I don't know how historically accurate that is, but I mean,
That dude really,
he effed the boys up.
really
and
messed
he didn't
them
do
up,
it
dude.
intentionally, but I mean,
he just really wanted to make the hydrogen bomb.
yeah.
But they've
like, dude,
never
I wanna make a
dropped
bigger one.
A hydrogen or a nuclear. They've never dropped that before. Only atomic bomb has been dropped. At least on.
I think they've dropped it in Arizona. and stuff.
Civilization.
Well,
Sure,
yeah,
yeah.
like as far as like an act of war, like killing
Yeah.
people with
Killing
it.
people.
And that's a kind of a cool thing. Like obviously we're not at the end of time yet, so who knows? But at least for a time period, Oppenheimer's theory was correct. He was like, once we do this, this is going to end war because people are going to understand we can't just drop these on everybody or we're all dead.
Yeah, that's why denuclearization's happening now. But
Yeah, so it's like he was kind of right. I mean, I don't see
I feel like that'll never happen.
I don't see a world where there's never going to be any type of war again. Like obviously there are small wars, but I think he was kind of talking more about world war.
most of the time, people are like capturing stuff. Though, I mean, to go back to like Hitler, it was all about conquering land. So why would I drop a nuclear bomb on land that I want for my own country? Because
Well,
then you can't use that land.
Look at
anymore.
Russia and Ukraine.
You know what I mean?
right?
Yeah, they're not
Which,
gonna bomb
bring
the
that
Ukraine.
into it, but
Yeah.
he's not going to.
He can't nuke the Ukraine because that's the breadbasket of all of. I mean,
Yeah.
he need. That's
the
why he's
literal
invading
wheat
Ukraine. Is
basket.
because yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
I got a
Grain
friggin-
basket.
Yeah, red famine. I mean, Ukraine is like.
We're getting in the. Yeah, I was going to say we're getting in the weeds, but if you do that, it's not even just. Oh, there's going to be a big hole somewhere. It's the radiation.
Oh, the afterwards. I mean, I don't.
Like you can't even go there.
Yeah, it's like Chernobyl. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, and I think that was, I mean, that's definitely a good point. Like, they weren't dropping that bomb because they wanted that land. They were dropping that bomb trying to break those people so that they would surrender.
Yeah.
Um,
Which I have heard too. I mean, and it is a cultural thing with the Japanese. Is I mean, I don't even think there's a word for surrender in Japanese.
well, that was the whole thing.
Like that,
they
they
were
are
not.
different than a lot of other cultures, and so they weren't gonna. I mean, they.
dude,
you wanna
even
talk
after
about
they
Pearl
dropped the
Harbor,
first
bro?
bomb,
Did they
dude.
not know? But it did. I thought I heard something like, this could totally be wrong. You definitely would want to look it up, but there was like a miscommunication. They didn't really know what happened. when
No,
the
so
first one
I
was
read The
dropped.
Last Train from Hiroshima, and in that book they talk about it. People reported back what had happened. People
Okay.
just didn't. Some of the people couldn't believe it. They were like, "There's no
Oh,
way.
or it
There's
was
no way
like-
what y'all are saying is true. They decimated a city with one bomb.
It
What are
was
y'all talking
that,
about?"
and even if they did, there's no way they can make another one or have
Yeah.
another one.
Some people had said that. Yeah, that plays heavily into like what they wanted
How many
to happen.
days after
but
Nagasaki do they surrender? I should know.
It
this
was
as
a few
well.
days later that
yeah,
they
it wasn't
dropped.
long at all.
They dropped another one.
Hirohito,
Oh, yeah, they do it
Hirohito
quick.
got
I
on the
just didn't
telegram and was like, "Yo, we're out. Y'all win.
Yeah, we just created a new word, and it
Yeah.
means we surrender.
surrender." So anyway, and again, to kind of go, I talked about this a bit in my top 10 video about the accidental president, about Truman. Like, it wasn't like there had to be, like, it was part of the fact that the Empire of Japan was very ruthless and savage and wouldn't surrender. But it was that combined with the fact that they had already lost so many Americans in World War II, and
Yeah.
the generals, Truman's generals came to him and estimated he'd lose another 1 to 2 million soldiers.
'Cause
And
they're
this
not
is
gonna
after
surrender.
we're already down.
Yeah, you're gonna have to
Like,
decimate Japan. And honestly,
Yeah.
Till the last soldier died.
this maybe isn't accurate, but yeah, I mean, it could have been worse for Japan, honestly. And that's probably what Truman had to decide is it's actually probably better for Japan, which I mean, you know, you almost can't say that, but they're probably actually going to lose
Yeah,
less
I don't
people
know.
if we drop a nuke on them and they just surrender.
Well,
You can
yeah,
turn back
I'm
around
sure.
and
I'm
go,
sure it was way
maybe
more,
not,
way
but
more because of not losing American people.
Yeah.
But that was definitely probably a factor. But and there are like things you can read, like history books, nonfiction stuff that would suggest that if they had gone a different route, not that it would not have taken quite as long as they thought at the time for them to defeat Japan. But still, you still do have the factor, and you have to take this in the context of the time. They saw Japan as like just absolute savages on the battlefield. Like,
Yeah,
I
which
mean,
they were.
I mean, even the battles that our grandfather was in, he was a Navy pilot, dude. Was
Midway.
when they first started seeing a lot of the kamikaze pilots. They were like,
yeah, no one else is doing that.
no one's
bro.
doing that, bro.
They're, I mean, you're talking about samurais that kill them, it's a dishonor if you like don't die in the battlefield for your leader. Like,
dude,
I mean,
they
that
had
was the biggest glory.
The Japanese Navy had torpedoes that were man operated, where these men would be in these torpedoes and get shot out of a sub and steer it to like hit the target and blow up. It was literally a suicide torpedo.
They would use
Americans weren't doing that, dude. No. The British weren't doing that. Like,
no.
It's just a different thing. And like, again, like kind of like you said, it's hard to say stuff now without people getting like worked up. There's a lot of historical evidence to suggest that these people were freaking like crazy when it came to this. Like
It's so dumb that people. This was in the 1940s. It's not now.
Yeah.
You can't look at their.
It's a completely different.
It's
culture.
a different culture. Like they were all about honor and like all that.
Dude.
Like which there's a lot to say for that. And like if you read like old like Japanese history, and a lot of other cultures like Chinese history, like you read about it then and it kind of gets you hyped up. It's like, dang, like no surrender, like honor and all that. When you're an American looking at World War II, you're like, God, they're freaking savages. They need to chill out. So like, there's a lot of different angles to look at it from. But as far as the Americans were concerned, they were tired of getting,
glizglap.
The devil's advocate is, well, they dropped that bomb on kids and women and all like different stuff. But then the other devil's advocate for the other side of it would be, well, Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
And the other devil's advocate is that was a military base.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there are still.
But the other devil's advocate is that like at the time, like kind of standards of war were like it was a surprise attack, and that was seen as kind of like.
Yeah.
And I bet you not
only
I bet you there were obviously the bomb killed more, but there were probably people that weren't military that died during Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
There definitely were
family members of military.
But so. To get back to the movie, to get off the freaking cultural implications and all that.
The soundtrack and music was fire.
So good. The special effects, I mean, like the stuff you would see when Oppenheimer was having those visuals and you'd see those crazy like bending lights like spinning around.
Yeah, almost absolutely blows your eardrums out.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, it was very loud.
And that, I will say, it's the only knock on the movie. That's why it loses a 0.5 to go down to 9.5. It's similar to Tenet, and I heard it was not as bad if you weren't in IMAX, so maybe you didn't experience this. But there were probably 25% of the movie. There's just loud freaking background noise or music, and you cannot hear what the people are saying. It's just like white noise almost kind of covering up what people are saying to a degree. And that was a big problem that like he got a lot of criticism for in Tenet particularly. Is the audio being... You haven't seen Tenet?
Great.
Tenet's crazy, man. That's a crazy movie.
Obviously the cinematography, is it Hoyte? Did he do it? He does all.
I heard them say that in an interview. Something that sounds like.
So what was the deal when they're going black and white, and then that was
black
only
and white is they know for sure it was.
That's accurate. Like objective, and color was subjective.
Oh.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Everything.
Did you have to read something about that?
I heard about it before I saw the movie.
Christopher Nolan had said
that's
everything
cool.
is in black and white. We know this happened, and then if it's in color,
some of it's inferred if it's in color.
Then
it's not even. It's not even that they're guessing. It's just that.
Yeah.
The black and white was like.
This is exactly
like
how
they
had
happened. Transcripts for it, or like written accounts of people that were there, and then the color would be like. Okay, so Oppenheimer's son said that this is the way this went down. Like a person who wasn't there heard it from Oppenheimer growing up or something.
Yeah.
Like all the... Was that a Senate hearing?
Yeah, something like that. Or a congressional hearing. Yeah, he's trying to be in the cabinet, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, that's right.
Which I thought he already was, bro. That's the other thing. Like I got lost with some of the roles because, especially when they're sitting down at the table arguing about...
So he was in charge of the Atomic Energy Commission.
Okay.
So he kind of oversaw the building of the atomic bomb.
Yeah. And I guess I didn't understand when in the timeline it occurred that he embarrasses him about like the isotope thing.
So that was another thing. It got a little confusing because there were 3 different timelines going on. Really, it was like the past, and then the Manhattan Project at Los Alamos. And then, like, the future. But, like, the past was different past. The future was different future. So, it was really a lot of timelines. But that was after dropping the atomic bomb.
Because I got confused because it starts off with him offering him a job.
It was when he embarrassed him?
Yeah, when he embarrassed him, to my knowledge, was after. Because the whole reason he's in there, I believe it was a hearing of Oppenheimer defending himself. Or, no. It was him. Okay, this is what it was.
He's in there to try.
He was having a hearing after the atomic bomb. He was trying to, like... kind of quell things and like he was basically being really vocal about why they shouldn't be arming up with all this stuff, and they should be seeking out diplomatic resolution to de-arm in this way because of the existence of these weapons. So, and that was
how did he
that was
embarrass him?
anti-Strauss.
It was
I
something
didn't
about the
fully
transportation of
understand, but
isotopes, I remember, and he compares it to like
beer or something.
Yeah, makes a joke, and I
Basically
guess he
saying
was
how
like
he
really
doesn't
worried about
understand
it. Yeah, I think freaking Iron Man was worried about it.
I think he was just really
Killian's
insecure
it's
guy.
not that big of a deal. But I guess what I didn't get about it, or get about the timeline, or fully understand, is that it starts off with him offering him a job at Princeton, and this is post-nuclear or post-bomb being dropped.
No.
It is, because he walks out there to talk to Einstein and walks back. And he says, I'll think about the job. And he's like, oh, you're just going to think about it? And then, because it's later on, because, I mean, that's when the conversation happens about, like, I think we just ruined the world or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so then,
Really?
that's where I
thought that was
couldn't...
before. I thought that's the first time they
No, because
meet.
that's when he has a conversation.
So he'd
with
already
Einstein.
known him then.
This is after
Which
the
at the
atomic
beginning,
bomb.
you don't
just-
realize
the,
that.
The mannerisms of when they meet is like...
Well, so he had
Well, it
already had a
makes sense
reason to
when
hate
you know
him.
the whole movie, though. Yeah, that's
He'd already had a reason to
yeah.
hate him before that. And so he offered him a job, and that's what I was talking to Lexi about. I was like, why would he offer him this job? I know he's the best man for the position, but it's like, it's probably because he was trying to cover up the fact that he's the one who, like, screwed Oppenheimer over by giving access to the files to that one guy, and that's why he has no security clearance. Because I think still at that point, when he sees him, he still doesn't have security clearance or whatever. And so maybe that's like his way of covering his tracks.
The rest of his life was that job?
Yeah, probably just
guess
stay in the
this is
U.S.
It's probably in there in this
Yeah.
book. You should read the book and then you'll find out.
Yeah, we got.
I'm assuming he had to
I'm
stay
not
in the
sure.
U.S., dude. There's no chance they're letting him leave the U.S. after that. I mean, like, Einstein couldn't. I don't think. Right?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
not sure
I haven't read
either.
the book yet.
Dude, just imagine, dude. When you have, like, I mean, I guess there's a limited amount of people, but when you have the knowledge that he had,
Oh, yeah, man.
you can't be letting that man.
I
run
feel like
around.
especially during that time because it was what? Dude,
Not
that
everybody
was
had one.
That was probably my another top 5 moment in the movie when they were like, and there's this guy who doesn't like Strauss too. His name's Kennedy. And you're
JF
like,
Kennedy.
oh, dude.
Yeah, he was one of the guys that voted down and said he didn't like the way that he treated Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
That was cool, and that's historically
Is that
accurate
accurate?
as well. Yeah,
Wow.
But that,
cool name drop.
That being like to your possible point of them not being able to go out of the country is the Cold War was coming up. I mean, the arms race and
Yeah.
all
Well, I mean,
that.
Matt Damon's like, he says, no, I wouldn't give him clearance, but he's like, for clarification, I wouldn't give any of these
Yeah.
guys clearance.
Yeah.
It's
He's like,
not
we
like
were
an
at
Oppenheimer
war.
thing.
Like,
None of
yeah.
these guys are getting clearance. Like,
Yeah.
Well, with
they know
the
too much.
criteria they had given him,
Yeah.
it was like, nope, hardly anybody would be able to be
Yeah.
clear
Yeah.
for this.
And I did really like that about Matt Damon's character. He's like the one guy that's really like, I mean, he definitely plays the dual role of doing his job for the military, but he also is genuinely caring of
Until
Oppenheimer.
I wonder if that
actually
guy's
ended up
like that.
being a friend.
I mean, I think that's the way it's
Yeah.
presented in the book. So
Okay.
And I think Christopher Nolan really tried, because I heard that the script was written from it was a first person script from Oppenheimer. It was like seeing everything through his eyes, basically.
Yeah.
So that would make sense that that's how he really was, because that's how Oppenheimer at least saw him.
Yeah.
But
That, and then it's really cool, the tie-ins, like, historically with how, you know, the lead guy on the Nazi side was like someone he looked up to, and
Yeah.
Heisenberg. I think it was Heisenberg.
Yeah,
That was cool.
Walter White.
Yeah.
yeah.
I thought that guy played a good. I mean, he was barely in it, but the Heisenberg guy, like, I feel like he
Yeah.
did a good job too.
And then Kenneth Branagh's in it, who's in Tenet, which you haven't seen. He also directed the first Thor movie, which wasn't that great,
I
but
did not know that.
yeah, he plays Niels Bohr or something. He's the
He
guy.
did great.
He's the guy that's in the office or in the laboratory.
That almost eats the apple.
Yeah, he almost eats that.
Oh,
He's
the
not the
older guy,
professor,
yeah,
but
yeah.
he's the one that almost eats the apple.
Yeah.
So
He's
moving
the one
on
that
from
they
that,
get out of, like, Norway or wherever, who's like behind enemy
Yeah.
lines that they want on the team, but they
Yeah.
can't get him. They eventually do get him.
But then he's like, I'm not here to be on your
Exactly.
team. I'm just saying, hey. All right, so to move on, something that's like very Nolan-esque, I feel, that was really good is the pace in this movie. I thought was so good. Like, I never
Yeah.
felt bored. It was just constantly moving, and it felt like every scene was like important to the
Yeah.
movie to progress the story.
You did have to stay locked in, though. I mean, if
Oh,
you
yeah.
let's say
Could
if you're
not
at this
blink.
theater and you fall asleep accidentally for 30 minutes and wake back up.
better
30
before you
minutes?
go in
Oh,
there.
you're done, dude.
I think
Because
if-
it was
I
a
feel like if
long
you're-
movie, though.
I
Yeah.
feel like if
30
you're out
minutes.
for 8 minutes, you're done.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, you're done.
Because, dude, I went and saw this movie at 10:30, bro. Because we had to see it at IMAX, and it was either 6:30 or 10:30, 6:30. There was, like, no seats available. So
it's
see
like
it at 10:30.
2 a.m. when you're...
Dude, I got out. I think that's when I sent you that text, bro. It was like 2 a.m.
That's tough.
But it was good.
It was
I'm gonna
good,
go see it
man.
again.
I was locked in.
Yeah.
I'd love to see... I want to see it in IMAX. I want to see it.
I'm not seeing it at IMAX again. I want to. If I go see it in theaters again, I want to have less noise. I want to be able to hear what they're saying.
You see it in standard.
Yeah,
We
something like
also
that.
see it on a big screen.
Yeah.
Dude, I wonder if it's accurate that he learned Dutch in like 6 weeks. That
Dude,
was kind of at the beginning. But...
he learned Oppenheimer, I'm sure, because Cillian Murphy learned Dutch in like a weekend. He learned 30,000 words of Dutch in a weekend for this movie. Isn't that crazy,
Why a weekend, dude? That seems unnecessary. Why would he wait that long?
He had 6 months to prepare for the movie from the time he got the call from Nolan, so I don't know why he needed a weekend of learning Dutch.
Probably
but,
just for one scene.
It was that one scene where
yeah.
which was funny. That there was some comedic relief like here and there with that one guy who you may have already mentioned his actual name, but the guy who's from New York, with the glasses.
I didn't mention him, but he was good.
He was good
really
too,
good.
yeah.
Oh, and then Josh Hartnett from Pearl Harbor
Yeah.
is in it.
That was cool to see.
He's like the American guy that's at the university or whatever.
Theory can only take you so far. He's got
Yeah.
the glasses.
He's like got the kind of
institute
comb hair, and he's the one that comes up to Oppenheimer and is like, you can't be having union meetings in here. And you're
that's
that Josh
guy,
Hartnett from Pearl Harbor.
He was
you
good.
recognize
Yeah,
him?
yeah. He
and
was
30 Days
good.
of Night. Ooh, great movie.
Yeah.
Man, that's oof.
So why does he walk away from Oppenheimer? He sees him and then turns around, and then someone's like, "Who was that?" Oppenheimer goes, "Who was that?" And he's like, "Don't worry about it."
I couldn't catch that.
I think the reason
Is
for
he
that would
sabotage-
be that he was like didn't want him to see him there because
He was speaking against.
he
him
was
or
probably
something.
speaking against him if I had to guess. Because you got to think at the time, dude, like
His lawyer did a good job too. Sorry to cut you off. Whoever
no,
that
yeah,
guy
he
is.
was good at the time, dude. It just, to my understanding, it was like just nobody wanted to be associated with anybody that was getting called possibly a communist. Because like Jeb said, you're heading into the Cold War. The people were crazy about this communism stuff back then for good reason. I mean, in my opinion, but I mean, maybe not to the degree that some people were, but it makes sense that people were very sketched out about it.
Russia
we
was
haven't been in
hated.
real wartime, dude, in a long time, man.
Yeah, so it's
We've
hard.
never-
It's hard to
I mean,
understand.
imagine being Japanese, dude, during World War II.
Living in Hawaii.
Well, they got
Getting
put in
into
imprisonment
camps.
camps.
Yeah, that's what I'm
dude.
saying.
I mean, and people don't really realize that type of stuff. I mean, stuff that's completely unconstitutional.
Yeah.
But we just do it
We're
because
just like, we're a war. All's fair in love and war. Ain't that in the Declaration somewhere? So one of the last notes I have, and I think this would be interesting to talk about, is some of the dissension I've seen about the movie. So one thing I've seen, and this is just so stupid, one thing I've seen a lot of people say is that the atomic bombs were dropped on the Japanese, and not one Japanese person is in this movie. And it's like,
there was a corpse
Forgot
of
the
a
movie
girl.
was called.
like
Hiroshima.
what did
There was a
you
Japanese
want to
corpse
see?
in that one
Did you
scene.
want to see like just Japanese people die? Because that's what their relation to the atomic bomb was.
Movie
is
is
getting
called
killed by it.
Oppenheimer.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. And then I heard some people say that women aren't in it enough, and it's like, when are we going to accept the fact that if we're doing a historical movie from a long time ago, women just weren't as involved? Like, that's how it was. They're much more involved now, and it's great. I'm not a
Why ain't
big
there a
fan
strong
of it.
woman like that? What's her face?
I mean,
the girl
Kitty
who's just-
Oppenheimer.
Yeah, dude,
Emily
she-
Blunt. Like, she's in there. It's just like, sorry, there weren't a lot of women on the Manhattan Project. There just weren't. We're not going to change.
What do you want them
like-
to do? Do you want them to do a historical movie, or do you want them to do an all-inclusive for your feelings?
Well, that's what
movie
they
that's
want.
Not historically accurate.
That is what they want, but that's not what Nolan's about to do. But and
Thank
then
God, dude.
some of the other dissension was I saw some people like they're saying that they didn't like that the movie tries to make you feel empathetic for the guy that made the bomb, and they're like, he was so naive. Why are you trying to make me feel bad for him? And I'm like, I think the point of the movie is to show you that he was naive, but it still took a huge toll on him.
Yeah.
And like, regardless of what you think about it, this is just a movie about this man who is, I mean, some would argue the most important figure in human history because of what he did.
Yeah.
In some ways, from some angles, he is. Certainly when you look at war.
Dude, I left that
dude.
movie theater, bro. We drove. It was like probably 30 minutes away from Lexi's
Just thinking
house.
about the whole time.
Dude, I was just quiet.
Yep.
And Lexi was like, "Why aren't you talking?" I'm like, I
thinking
just
about the
can't
movie.
stop thinking about how like that honestly is one of the most important things that's ever happened in on Earth ever.
Mm-hmm.
If we're talking about non-religious things that have occurred, I mean, I don't know what's more important. I don't like. I was just thinking about the gravity of that movie.
Yeah.
And like just how we live our lives, dude, and don't really think about how, things just be over in a minute, and just who knows the political things that are happening, and we just don't know about it. But anyway, and just the pressure that like, I mean, I know Truman hits him with the like crybaby thing, but dude, it's just kind of having that realization afterwards. I can just only imagine what that's like, and then to know.
And I think it was like they were trying to make a point, like there's men like Truman or men like whoever, like Boris Pash, the guy that Casey Affleck plays, but men like Oppenheimer, like they couldn't fully handle the weight of what that was. Like not every man was built, like he was a scientist. He was not wired to handle
was excited by the problem
of dropping atomic bombs on innocent civilians. So like,
but I think they did a decent job, and just to back that up, like a lot of the motivation for Oppenheimer too was, what if they get a bomb first?
Yeah, well, that's a huge.
They had no idea.
So it's
I mean, Hitler was working on
one.
one.
Like, I want this so that we can drop it on these civilians. It's okay. All of these, we already know these people. There's a very important moment where Strauss is showing that Russia's already working on a bomb. So I mean, it's like he also was probably thinking, if anybody's going to do this, let's try and do it first so that our people don't die, because they didn't have any defenses for that kind of weaponry at the time.
And that's another thing people don't realize is when Oppenheimer started building the bomb, they did not have Japan in mind. It just ended up being what it was needed for.
It was probably going to be the
They
Germans
were racing Hitler at the beginning. And to go back to Oppenheimer being a Jew, that is part of the movie where he makes it clear is like kind of early on, like not at the halfway point. Yeah, he's like, they're not killing your people out there. He's talking about that in reference to the fact that they need to beat the Nazis in the race to make this bomb. So yeah, that was a fascinating part, and it's like people don't want to acknowledge that, but it's like we're talking about the guy who did the Holocaust.
Yeah,
we needed to beat him in this race, like regardless of what you think about what we did with it.
There were already scientists across the whole world that were doing it. So would you rather them have that power or?
And again, that's just not understanding the context of being at war. You don't have the luxury of being a humanitarian all the time.
No, you don't.
Like you just don't. Belgium tried it, and they got invaded in World War I. Like they tried to be neutral, they got invaded. The king of Belgium couldn't just go, take our stuff, rape and pillage all you want. He had to go to war, and that's what happens when a madman like Hitler and a madman like Stalin or a madman like whomever starts trying to take over the freaking world. Like you can sit around and wait for something to happen, but that's it's
a very I would definitely use the word ignorant point of view.
Yeah.
To look at that time in history and judge it like that, or judge him like that. And I don't think, I think he did a great job. I think Nolan did a great job communicating. Yeah, I think he knew what he was building, but also it doesn't mean it didn't affect him.
Yeah.
That scene that you thought was most powerful, I thought too was crazy when he's doing that speech. It's supposed to be this moment of accomplishment.
And it kind of hits him.
And it's like, dude, we really are like in a different world now.
It's that whole concept of like, once you win the Super Bowl, like what next?
Yeah.
Like we've done this, but now it's like, oh wait, like we've done this.
Like what's going to happen now that we've
it's always about how the journey is honestly way more. And I mean, I've read this. I think even in Atomic Habits, they talk about how like setting a goal, like you actually get more of a dopamine release from like the journey towards that goal than actually like.
And that's why he's big on systems and stuff.
Yeah, it's like so set a vacation
process.
6 weeks from now. And you'll actually enjoy the working to that vacation more than like when you're actually on vacation.
The greatest example of that is Christmas.
Oh yeah.
Christmas is always amazing, but Christmas Day is super sad.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's just not,
it's the season before, and then
the
day of. It's still great, but then you're like, oh, it's over.
We're gonna bring this up in every one of our videos. Brandon Sanderson, Stormlight Archive, Journey Before Destination, the first ideal, the first oath. That's part of it. I mean, I don't know about all that, but Journey Before Destination, man. So yeah, what other thoughts do you have?
It made me think, let me hand this guy a couple other books. If we're going to start making movies out of books that are relevant, because dude, who else would do this? Like, this is a story that I'm going to be honest with you.
Spielberg's done it very well.
Yeah.
With like
World War II movies and Saving Private Ryan,
Auschwitz,
Band of Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Band of Brothers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That is true.
I mean, Saving Private Ryan's not a real story, but
I mean, just relevant.
It's still good. Yeah.
Things.
Yeah, but the
it was real.
This is something that, dude, most people wouldn't. I mean, we would care about it, but a lot of people would never read this book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And watching the movie, I think for people who, I hate to say it, are too lazy to pick up a book and read it, which we've all been there, but like it's just, I guarantee this book's a lot better than that movie, which sounds insane to say, but we both know
Oh yeah, for sure.
it's true.
Yeah.
But okay, if people aren't going to start reading books, because I mean that's going to take a long time and more of a cultural thing. I mean, dude, it's just so important. And I think you could easily go watch that movie and it's like, oh yeah, not only was that a good movie, but you learned something. You actually learned something that was real. Like it's not, you're not leaving like, you know, maybe like you learned a lesson, but it wasn't something that actually happened. Like, this actually happened.
I'm
this
just
is
sat
real.
here thinking about like some of the books, like
dude,
if the campaign of Vicksburg, Grant doing the campaign of Vicksburg during Civil War by Christopher Nolan, dude, in the Garden of Beasts, Eric Larson, leading up to the fall of Berlin through the eyes of the American ambassador, Garfield the cat. Oh, President Garfield, that would be great. Yeah,
dude, especially the medical relevance of that story.
Have you read that book?
Yeah, that's
I need to read
probably
it.
one of my favorite.
When
Jesse's the one that got me to read it.
Yeah, I heard him talk about it on his
Destiny of the Republic, Dennis Millard,
and it sounded really good. Now, the Devil in the White City sounds like he could do a great job with that.
Oh my God.
I mean, dude, anything like
Rubicon.
No, wait, is Killers of the Flower Moon real?
Yeah, and that's that Leonardo DiCaprio movie.
Soon.
That's Martin
There's
Scorsese.
They're doing a Napoleon movie. Looks sick.
Oh,
I hope they stay
Joaquin.
historical.
Yeah,
I feel like they're not, but
yeah, I wish they would.
Who's the director on that one?
I think that's Ridley Scott. It'll probably be pretty
It
historical.
would be so cool if, like, imagine Nolan doing a JFK 1963 movie. So
there are some good JFK
Cold
movies
War,
out there, though.
Yeah.
and you've got his assassination and all the implications of it.
I want him to cover stuff that people just don't know about, like this. Like that was perfect to me because it's something that I didn't even know. I didn't know who Oppenheimer was before this, and now I do. And now, I mean,
it's fascinating.
Everybody's gonna know who he is. They're at least gonna know the name now.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's for sure. I mean,
he's. So I think hats off to Nolan for taking something that actually happened and then staying, for the most part, it seems like, we haven't read the book, but I mean,
seemingly historically accurate and entertaining.
Because dude, history is entertaining, so it's like not adding some weird twist to where the freaking Iron Man's trans or something. Like, dude, you know, just staying with it, dude. We don't need to get too complex. Like, this story alone is insane.
It's incredible.
So, I will say, though, to backtrack, dude, we all like tits. But, like, come on, dude.
Yeah, that was just so
the writing scene was a lot, dude. And I don't know if you saw this, and we might have to cut this, bro, but I swear to God you could see his when it went down. You know what I'm talking about?
I think you could.
It's like one of those things you see it at the last second.
I was with Maddie. I wasn't looking. I was
like, yeah, don't you look.
Straight at her.
He's covering in case she watches this video. It's like, I was mad, I wasn't looking.
I wasn't. I was looking straight at her.
Dude, I swear to God, though, it like peers down, and then it's like, once you realize that you can see from that angle, I think it's probably too late for you to notice it. But like, if you know ahead of time, it's like, dude, am I gonna catch some?
I think you do.
But it's like, why? Why does that?
When all I'm thinking of when I see that scene, all I think of when I see that scene is like, bro, did they really ask Florence Pugh to get in front of all these people naked, and Cillian Murphy and her to just sit in this chair naked while everybody else is standing around, and Emily Blunt's behind them like crying? So serious. Like,
how many takes do you think that took?
It just makes you think. It just makes you realize, bro, as great as movies like this are, and as like much as you appreciate the acting, actors are freaking weird, dude.
Bro, what happened? How many times, Jeb, do you think that it took for them to get that scene right?
Man, I don't know.
Like a couple hours?
Not many.
Hopefully quick. I mean,
how long? I just don't know anything
If you're
about
cutting and going, I would definitely say, I mean, for sure, she was probably wearing something. She wasn't probably completely naked for all that.
But for the scene, she was. Like, yeah, she'll put on a robe in between takes, but like for the scene, she's naked.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know.
Did you see in China that they covered her up with a black dress in both those scenes?
Yeah, they like CGI'd it.
And honestly, I swear, dude, I'm hearing things from these countries that aren't as great as America. I'm hearing these things where I'm like, that's probably good.
Yeah, definitely
like,
very good.
Bro, in Kuwait, they just cut it out.
Them doing that?
They don't even have. There'll just be a jump in the scene.
You're just like, whoa. It probably wouldn't even feel. It'd be like, oh, Nolan, crazy. They just go, whoa, 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 and just cut a scene out. Okay, so anyway, what else? I mean, is there anything else that y'all feel like from this movie is was really impactful. I'm trying to think of other scenes. I mean, the Trinity scene, the test scene. I thought that was really cool. I really liked how it drew out the visual, and then all of a sudden you're just getting wrecked with the sound of it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was really that long of a delay in real life, but there definitely would have been a delay from the light and the sound.
Yeah.
That was really cool. There was a really funny scene where the dude, I was like, that's me. He's like, is it rubbed in? And he's just covered in sunscreen still.
Yeah, that was funny. I really, you had said it earlier, the pace. And I think the reason I like it so much is it is very Nolan-y, but specifically with this type of movie, you feel that race happening where it's like, who's going to, because they don't know. They don't know. They don't have a book that goes, and America's going to win.
Yeah.
You feel the race happening of, who's going to get the bomb first. And that it just felt like the movie was doing that. Like everything was so dramatic and, hey, Russia's apparently they've tested and, all of.
At the same time, though, they do a good job of like making it not about that and so much about like the town that they're at and like how life is there. I mean, and so it gives you the perspective of what it was like for them because they were just there grinding every day. They weren't on the front lines, like storming Normandy. Like, I mean, they were just kind of waiting for information, just like everybody else. I mean, they were like throwing newspapers down, like. So and so has this, and they're like, "Oh no!" It's like, you got to put yourself in that time period where I mean, just information wasn't that accessible. So I mean, they're also blind.
Yeah, when
who knows if a war is going on for them? Honestly, they don't actually know.
Yeah, it's all propaganda. But it is crazy because like Oppenheimer's sitting there waiting, and he like essentially hears. I mean, he hears that the bombs have been dropped from Truman on the radio, and it's like crazy. If that happened nowadays, they'd be shooting him a text like, "Yo, we're dropping the bomb tomorrow." Like, just a heads. You don't tell anybody, but good job, dude. We're dropping it tomorrow. Like, and like, it's just kind of interesting to think that that's a huge factor. Like, which that's crazy to think the technology was like that, and they built the atom bomb. Like, it's just so wild to think.
Can you imagine if? Yeah, I mean, well, who knows what we can do now?
Oh,
because again,
we don't.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's a whole other podcast.
Because they weren't doing that. No one knew that was going on. We only know about it now because freaking
dude,
it's declassified now.
Truman essentially, he did kind of. Someone had mentioned it to him in passing when Truman took the oath after FDR died. He didn't know, like he didn't have the full understanding of where they were on that. So like he gets deep, and that's why his 4 months were so tumultuous and crazy or whatever. Because he comes in there after 12 years of FDR, or however long it was. I think it was 12.
There's no telling what we have now. I will say, what was it? When was this plane built?
Talking about the bomber plane?
The
it looks crazy
SR-71.
too.
What?
Like the bomb itself just looks crazy.
The atom bomb?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, and I know they can't get into the weeds of this. How did they split an atom?
I mean, dude, it's made up, honestly.
Bro, how do they split an atom, and how does Cillian Murphy hear about news from a newspaper? The one guy, when he's still at the school, I can't remember what school it is, the guy brings it in, it's like, oh, they've built whatever. And he's like, that's not possible. And then he just starts going to a board and starts writing stuff down. And I'm like,
wait, it is possible.
But it's like, bro, what? What? It's like, what does that even mean? Yeah, the fact that he can hand Einstein a sheet of paper with just whatever the hell that is on there. And Einstein's like,
you're going to blow up the atmosphere?
It's like he knows that freaking K minus 14 under.
It's like, wait, that's the atmosphere being destroyed. Like, it's like, what?
That's just insane to me.
Which that's something we haven't really hit fully was
how stupid we are,
I mean, yeah.
How specialized all that type of stuff is.
But that is a crazy thing we didn't talk about much. I mean, that was a real factor, too. When they first did the test, they were like, we could destroy 90% of our
That was one of the comedy relief.
It was near
like,
zero.
Near zero. Yeah, he's like, near zero?
Yeah.
What do you want? 0.
I mean, that's crazy, dude. Like, they were actually, and who knows, like, in the moment how likely they thought it was. But, I mean, they were taking bets, dude, which is kind of crazy to think. It's like, if I'm taking that bet, I'm betting every cent I have on it's not going to do it, because if it does,
it doesn't matter anymore anyway.
I don't think it matters. So like whoever's placed the bet on the other end of that saying, oh dude, it's going to blow up, I got $100 on it. It's like,
Starts to
okay.
blow up the
Like,
atmosphere. I won. Okay.
yeah, it's like, hey, I won. Let's go.
Disintegrates.
Just disintegrates from immediate radiation destruction.
I mean, maybe he's Wolverine, bro.
That stuff to me still seems
Maybe Louis Strauss is just like,
crazy.
Friday, get me out to the spaceship.
Or what does he do? He does that.
Yeah, he does a little. That.
Oh god, dude.
Yeah.
Did you see
Steve
it
Rogers
coming
is
though?
like,
that,
wait.
Dude.
Did you see it coming that Iron Man's character was the one all along?
I mean, I knew.
Did you already know the history of it?
Yeah, I didn't know the extent of what I learned in that movie, but I knew there was history there where they were not, like, they were at odds.
That they waited till the end to review.
Yeah, I think
I just
you
knew they
told me
were at
that,
odds.
so I knew.
Like, I knew Louis Strauss was not a good guy.
I think I also
Really?
did.
And
I
the-
didn't know.
In the context of history, now granted,
Yeah.
he did do a lot of good things, I think, and like was a very important
Yeah, I
player.
think RDJ. I think the reason I kind of knew it is because he had said in an interview, he was like, "And I'm kind of the antagonist to."
Yeah, and then
Oppenheimer."
Nolan
And I was
goes,
like,
spoilers.
Spoiler?
Nolan says, "Oh, spoilers!" in one of the interviews where he said
Yeah.
that. Actually,
Spoilers.
it might have been the same one.
Yeah. Again, you can't really call it a spoiler when
It's history,
it
yeah.
happened.
Bro, most
80
people don't
years
even.
ago.
Most people in America don't even know there's.
Don't
50
tell me who
states,
wins World War
so-
II.
And I mean, what does it
Yeah.
even matter, dude? Like, that's a spoiler, but then you go on like these regular pages that are like movie pages. Like, I was watching that Secret Invasion show, and not that I cared because that show was absolute ass, but I get on the day the finale comes out, and there's a picture of like the end scene, and I was just like, dude, this came out 8 hours ago, and you're just posting it on your Instagram and ruining it for everybody. So it's like,
Yeah.
dude, if you have no idea what happened 80 years ago, I mean, I guess that's what the
Find out
movie's
pretty
for.
quick.
But
Yeah.
what else?
I mean, we've covered it. I mean, we're
We're
if
in.
someone's
We're in
it
deep
still
at
at
this
this
point.
time, you might as well subscribe.
Might as well
You
subscribe if
might
you're
like
still
us.
here. So yeah, that's our talk on Oppenheimer. I'm sure we missed some stuff, but again, I thought it was amazing. Nolan's a god in this realm.
For sure.
All the acting was amazing.
I hope
Yeah.
Cillian Murphy's in more stuff. I hope Nolan's next film is another nonfiction, like a Dunkirk. Like the. I mean, I want.
Yeah.
I
I mean,
want,
dude, now I'm stuck on thinking about that Vicksburg campaign.
bro, just go ahead and send it to him.
I mean,
Look, Chris,
Chris, my guy.
Sea
like
Dog.
Like a lead up to World War One, like that war that ended peace, because that's what it feels like Nolan's so good at. Like, even in like the Dark Knight movies, like the action and culmination points were great,
Yeah.
but it's the lead up to it that's so
Bro.
like tense and like
We
you
have
can
no
feel.
movies about Soviet Russia. We have all these like,
Yeah.
you know, the man who killed whatever. But like,
Yeah.
what about a movie about Lenin, bro?
Yeah, that would be crazy.
Or Rasputin, or I mean, they've done like the where they'll have him in like with the what's that other movie with? God, dude, I'm so bad at like remembering names of stuff, but it's like a 007 movie, but it's like kind of almost parody with a little more comic relief in it, and the guys like wear suits all the time.
Get Smart,
Huh?
Steve Carell.
No, dude, it's
Anne
like more
Hathaway?
serious than that. It's like they've had a couple of different. They did one. Essentially, I'm bringing this up because they did one and they brought in Rasputin,
the Kingsman.
the Kingsman.
Yeah.
So they'll like do like cameo stuff, but like I want something historically accurate because bro, freaking Rasputin wasn't doing that.
I mean, dude, a movie that had Rasputin in it, made him a main character, but a movie that was revolving around Nicholas and the Romanovs and ended with them
I'm
murdering
getting Klazak.
would be like a crazy impactful movie.
Dude, because
Especially
there's still
by
a lot
Nolan.
Of theories. Well, because I mean, there's still. I mean, they're dead for sure.
I
And
mean, they
were
for sure
murdered. They were
died.
all murdered, but I mean,
You know what?
some people say they don't know.
You know what movie you need to watch that's historically based is Lincoln.
Yeah, that's Daniel Day-Lewis. We were talking about that the other day.
Yeah,
You need to
I've seen
watch
that one.
Lincoln. And you need to watch The Darkest Hour. The Darkest Hours might be my favorite movie at this point.
Man, I watched that for the first time like a
Really?
month ago.
I cry every time I watch it. You need to watch
What's it
that.
about?
It's about Winston Churchill.
Gary
About
Oldman
him
plays him.
taking,
Freaking.
It is
about him becoming
amazing,
prime
dude.
minister. And his,
Is it
like,
amazing?
I
Is
mean,
it historically accurate?
yeah.
Oh,
It's
man.
really, really good, dude.
See, that's
It's all,
yeah,
it's
that's
ever
great.
from my understanding,
It's
it's all
incredible.
very, very
It
accurate
was
in
cool
that
to
movie.
see it before I went to London.
Yeah, you did go to London not long
and
ago.
See it and
Is that when you started drinking tea? When you got back?
no, I always have had. I've always liked nighttime tea. I just kind of
Always, since he was born.
Nighttime
yeah.
tea.
When I was born, I started.
So yeah, I think that's enough on Oppie. Great movie. Go see it if you haven't in theaters. It's definitely one you need to see in theaters. I think we'd all agree.
Absolutely.
If you can.
Yeah.
Let us know what you think
It's
about us
long.
talking about movies.
prepared
Yeah, it's a
for that.
3-hour movie. Let us know what you think about Jeb.
Yeah.
If we should have him back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else in closing?
No.
Like and subscribe.
Wow,
Yeah,
we haven't
dude.
even been saying that.
We haven't, because honestly, it's like
Nice call.
You need to do an intro.
What do you
We
mean?
did one the other day.
Yeah. Or
I'm
what, they
gonna say,
learn
like,
about
where-
us?
Well, in the beginning, you're like, "Hey guys, thanks for coming back. Like and subscribe. Thanks
Yeah.
for watching the thing."
We've thought about it.
And then
If
it
you think we should do
starts.
that, leave in the comments. But I think it's. I don't know. I don't know. It's just so not us. You know what I mean?
The podcast with just me saying like and subscribe. So
Yeah,
now
we
can
could
just
have.
talk
We'll
about
really cut back to it now.
Yeah.
But if you want to subscribe, you can. But
All right. Yeah, like, subscribe, comment. Like, subscribe,
Subscribe.
comment. I'm Nicole Kidman. This is Reese Witherspoon, and that is
Mila Kunis.
Mila Kunis. Thanks again. It's Lit Book Reviews. We out.